On this episode, we talk about Terraforming Venus, Shell Worlds, Wristify,
and we discuss the story idea, The Trespasses, and this one's featured story by H.G. Wells.
Hello, I'm the ghost of H.G. Wells, and you are listening to the Sci-Fi Ideas podcast.
Hello, you're listening to the Sci-Fi Ideas podcast, ideas and inspiration for science fiction writers. This is episode 1, but we also recorded an episode 0, which is available on the Sci-Fi Ideas website, sci-fiideas.com. I'm joined again by my brother and co-host David Ball.
Hello.
Hello, David.
Hello.
Now, before we go on to talk about some science fiction ideas, I want to do a bit of a shout-out, a bit of a plug for the Mars Terraforming Corporation Facebook page. This is one of my favourite Facebook pages at the moment.
Okay.
And they wrote an article for us. Well, they wrote it for themselves and we kind of stole it with their permission, about Terraforming Venus, which was a bit of useful info. I thought it would be useful for writers, so I shared it.
Do you want to explain a bit about that? Because I have to be honest, I didn't read it.
Oh.
I usually do read every single post that you put on, but I didn't read that one.
Sure you do.
No, I do. The thing is, it got into a lot of the details. It got into a lot of the science, and that sometimes it kind of turns me off a bit. I mean, it's useful, but sometimes if I'm reading quickly on my phone, I don't really need all the science.
Yeah, well, this is why I thought this was really good. It's why I wanted to share it, because it sums up the science.
Yeah.
It sums up what we would need to do to terraform Venus.
Yeah.
It's talking about how it's a hot planet, but it used to be very similar to Earth.
Right.
There was a runaway global warming effect, turned it into the hottest place in the solar system. It's hotter than Mercury, you know.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah. That shows how important the atmosphere is to temperature.
Yeah. Okay.
So he gives some figures, basically talks about how we need to get rid of the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of the opposite of Mars. Mars needs to be warmed up, Venus needs to be cooled down. Maybe we could take the carbon dioxide from Venus and dump it on Mars. I don't know.
Right. Would it be easier than Mars?
I don't know. I think this is pretty difficult.
Oh,
but
yeah. I'm not saying it's going to be a walk in the park to terraform any planet.
But the fact that it used to be like Earth, and it is still so much like Earth, it's just that everything's kind of balanced out wrong.
Yeah.
If the atmosphere of Venus was the same as the atmosphere of Earth, it would be quite a nice planet. It would be about 26 degrees centigrade.
Okay, so that's quite a nice day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Might be a bit hot in the around the equator, but perfectly
well,
livable.
Live there. It's a big planet.
But how do we do this is the problem, and he discusses a couple of ideas. He talks about building giant space mirrors.
Oh, right, okay,
to deflect some of the sun's rays. He also talks about smashing asteroids into Venus, and that's fun. To create dust clouds, a kind of a nuclear winter effect.
Oh, I see. So there'd be so much dust in the atmosphere that it would be like a greenhouse. Would it, no,
the opposite of a greenhouse.
Yeah, block out all the sun.
It would cool it, at least temporarily.
Right. If I was to read the article in full, it'd give everything that I needed to write a science fiction story about what it's like to live on a terraformed Venus.
It would give you some ideas about how that might be achieved.
Yeah, okay. Cool. Very interesting.
So that came from the Mars Terraforming Corporation. Really good Facebook page to share lots of interesting links and some really good artwork. While we're on the subject of planets, there's another interesting sci-fi idea I've come across on Facebook. Well, this has come to us through space.com. It's the idea for shell worlds, creating shell worlds. Do you see this, David?
I think I did. Is this the one where it's like a big glass container around the entire planet?
That's right. It's building a shell around a small planet or a moon. It's not glass. It would be made of something much harder. It mentions Kevlar to keep out small meteoroids.
Right, okay. So it wouldn't be transparent then?
It wouldn't be transparent. It would be lit artificially.
Oh, right, okay.
And then probably covered in solar panels.
Also, there's no light source coming in. There's no sun. So how's anything going to grow?
Well, that also keeps out radiation.
Oh.
And it keeps in heat. And then once you've built this shell, you then pump in atmosphere.
Yeah.
We're talking here about small planets and moons that otherwise wouldn't be colonisable at all.
Right,
because they have a small mass and they can't hold an atmosphere.
Yeah.
This is an engineer called Ken Roy, by the way, has written a paper about this.
Okay. And he's a proper scientist?
I assume so. I don't know. I haven't looked him up.
I wonder, I love ideas like this, but I just wonder, it's on such a big scale that is it ever going to work? Because you've got to essentially create this entire shell around the entire planet and have every single piece finished and fitted before it's usable. It's not like you can get halfway and you've done half of it. You've got to seal the whole thing in before you start pumping the atmosphere in. And then once you pump where do you get the atmosphere from?
That's a good question, yeah.
Just take some from another planet. You can't just ship it there from
these
Earth,
raw materials are available
ours
in loads of different places in the solar system and other solar systems, but it's the scale that's the problem. But terraforming Venus, that's fine, that's easy.
Oh yeah, it's
You've got no problem with
that. Well,
but this is on a much smaller scale.
So could you do this to our moon then? A sort of planet the size of our moon?
I would assume that's what he's imagining, yeah.
Yeah. Or smaller?
Small planets or large moons. The moon is actually quite a large moon, isn't it? So that would be trickier than others.
Well, so I'm just trying to imagine this then. So you've got the shell around the whole planet. It must be supported by some sort of columns, struts.
I don't know.
Or is it just that it's round? It's going to always be contained in the. No, it's not. Is it? Because
it would be really strong if it's round, if it's spherical.
Yeah, but the planet inside might move about. If you've got
relative to the shell, I wonder about that myself.
Yeah, if you've got a small rubber ball inside a big football, it's going to bounce around.
But well, maybe the shell would be in orbit of the planet, so it would keep itself in position.
So that's how you build it. You build it by putting it in, by starting one bit in geosynchronous orbit, and just carry on building until you go all the way around. Is that going to work, or would it just...
Well, low Earth orbit is only just beyond the atmosphere, really, isn't it?
Yeah. But a smaller planet would have a smaller gravity.
Mass. Yeah. He's factored in the gravity in this. And
he has? Oh, good.
In a really interesting way. The details he's given of how society would work on this is brilliant. You would build cities that hang from the shell, right? You have industry on the outside of the shell.
Yeah.
So that all the gases and any waste can be just pumped out into space. And then underneath those, on the inside of the shell, you've got hanging cities, so that your workers are near the manufacturing. And then the surface is used for agriculture, oxygen production, and I suppose recreation as well. And in this little infographic that space.com has done, there's a little flying person. So low gravity allows for human-powered flight.
Oh, right. So in your hanging house, if you fall out, so I was just thinking of that. Just wake up one morning and just step outside your front door and you fall out of your house accidentally.
Put on some wings, jump out of your house, glide down to the surface and have a picnic.
Yeah. Oh, this sounds really good. It does sound completely bizarre.
Just don't eat too much, you might not be able to fly back up.
Yeah, but all these oxygen-producing fields and stuff on the planet's surface, well, where do they get the light from? That's all from artificial light.
From artificial lights, yeah.
It's been generated from solar panels on the outside of the shell.
Yeah.
That sounds
or maybe nuclear reactors on the outside.
Inefficient.
It does, doesn't it? Well, perhaps we could have some windows.
You'd have to have some transparent
radiation is a problem. It depends where this planet or moon is as well, doesn't it? Relative to the sun.
Yeah.
There are various options there, I think.
That's really interesting.
It's not a particularly well-formed idea in terms of the details, but as a starting point of an idea of why not do this, I think it's quite good. It's a good sci-fi idea anyway. It'd be great for a story.
Yeah, I think I'd like to see this in a film. This would be amazing in a film. Just like not even the film doesn't have to be about this concept, but just the setting. Just
really interesting.
Have
setting,
like an action film or like a romance film, just set in space in a on a planet like this. Something
you just like that idea of flying down having a picnic, don't you?
I like the idea of buildings that like hanging from the shell of a planet. That's insane.
You know, you could work it into the plot. You could have people from the cities and people who live on the surface being different classes in kind of an Elysium type story.
Oh yeah. So the people that actually live on the bottom, they might not have any means to survive because all the industry is right up on the top on the shell hanging down.
Yeah.
So like maybe
they've got control of the food.
I suppose
the agriculture's on the surface.
Yeah.
Which would be better? I wonder. I'd be interested to twist that round. You would assume that the ground would be the nice place to live because there's plants, but
yeah, but you need the intelligent people living up at the top near the shell. If they're pumping out radiation into space, like you said, or waste into space, then they need to be in control of the airlocks.
Who would be the oppressed workers, the people who work in the factories, or the agricultural workers? I wonder.
I suppose it could all be ruled by a machine, a computer.
Yeah.
They might not trust people because it's a complicated thing. If one panel in this shell breaks, then they lose the entire atmosphere. So they might have robots up on the top that like automatically repair or like 3D print. In fact, yeah, you could just get robots to 3D print this huge shell rather than like constructing it. Because when you say constructing it, I imagine people
girders,
sitting on girders, like that old photo of New York where there's people sat on a big girder making the Empire State Building or something.
That's put a nice image in my head. But it's okay if they fall. There's not much gravity.
It's okay if they fall. They'll just float down to the surface. It's fine. Yeah.
Now, a while ago, when I mentioned this, you said that you weren't sure if it would work, and I thought you were going to pick up on if one of the panels of this shell breaks, the entire atmosphere is lost. Yeah.
All it takes is one accident or one terrorist attack, something like that.
Yeah.
Just destroy the whole planet.
Which is an interesting idea in itself for a story.
Or not even anything malicious. An asteroid from. Well, we're hit by asteroids all the time.
Which is where the Kevlar comes in.
Right, it's going to be.
It says a protective shell of dirt, steel, and Kevlar fibre.
Dirt. Why is he thinking about making it out of dirt?
Yeah.
I know what I'll make this out of. Dirt. Nobody puts dirt as a material for construction.
We do. We have mud brick houses.
Well, I suppose, but I don't.
Wattle and daub. It's all made of wattle and daub.
Does anyone actually know, around the world know what wattle and daub is, or is that just a British word for
it might be a British term for it's straw and mud, isn't it? Perhaps some cow dung as well.
That's it. I thought it was cow dung. I thought it was very specifically cow dung. Oh, well, why not make it out of dung? Make your shell out of dung.
Using space cows.
Well, you can make it even thicker then, can't you? You know, the longer the people live there, the...
I don't think wattle and daub is airtight, Dave.
Oh, okay.
Another idea I've come across, again through Facebook, this time through Earth Operators Manual Facebook page, which is kind of an environmentally themed page, is Wristify. Have you seen this?
No.
It's an idea for a little device that you wear on your wrist like a watch that would heat your blood.
I have
the major
seen
blood
this.
vessels there.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. So it just heats you up. You don't need to wear a big jumper.
Yeah.
It just heats up your blood, and then that. Wow.
Well, the caption they went with on Earth Operator's Manual page was, heat your blood, or heat yourself instead of your house. So it will be saving energy.
Yeah, yeah.
It could also be useful in Arctic conditions where you can never wear too many coats.
So you could just go like skinny dipping in the Arctic, and it's fine because you're warming warming yourself inside, so you don't need to wear big thick coats.
I do wonder about how efficient this would be.
Yeah. Well, how long does it last for?
Well, if you go skinny dipping in the Arctic, not very long.
Yeah, it'll just last a couple of seconds, then it'll just, I don't know, burn out.
Yeah. Of course, it can't get too hot, or it would just burn you.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So there's a limit to how much it can warm you.
Yeah, okay.
But it's a doody little device. I think that could be quite useful.
Is it quite a cumbersome thing that you put on yourself? Or is it quite nice?
The picture that I have on the website does look a little cumbersome, but
right.
Think about it in the future. We've got futuristic technology now. We can make these things quite small, surely.
Yeah, true, yeah.
So this is actually being made.
Oh, really? Oh, I thought it was just a concept.
This is a project at MIT. I'm not sure if they've built a prototype yet.
You can imagine the disaster though. For the first person to test it out just gets like burnt to a crisp from the inside out.
Third degree burns on his wrist. Oh god!
On the inside, his blood just turns to.
His blood boils.
His blood boils. It turns to a gas.
I think it would burn your wrist and set on fire before it boiled your blood. Sure.
Okay. Oh, that's all right then.
I think this is a device that we will be wearing in the future.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah.
That'll definitely save your energy bills, won't it? Yeah.
I'm putting this up there with glow-in-the-dark streets.
Glow-in-the-dark streets?
Yeah.
Oh, I saw the glow-in-the-dark ice cream.
That in the future.
I saw glow-in-the-dark ice cream. It was on
really?
Some website somewhere.
Why?
Yeah, it uses whatever octopuses, not octopuses.
Right.
Yeah,
deep sea fish and
some jellyfish have this gene that makes them glow. Anyway, so they made this ice cream that glows in the dark. I don't know why you'd be eating ice cream in the dark though.
It's the least useful thing you can do to ice cream.
Yeah.
So glow in the dark streets, so that's a good idea.
Yeah.
So they absorb light during the day, and then at night they glow so you can see where you're going. That's
better than having streetlights, isn't it? Because streetlights are quite bright, they use a lot of energy.
Yeah.
This wouldn't use any energy at all.
A lot of governments are talking about turning off streetlights late into the night when they're not needed. It's very wasteful.
They do it already.
They do, yes.
A friend of mine says that they've started turning it off at a certain time. Like, just before or after midnight, I can't remember what they said. He lives, out in the sticks, so, they turn off the lights, so it's completely pitch dark around him at a certain time of night. So it's
glow in the dark street. Anything glow in the dark, it fades, doesn't it?
It will, yeah.
So these streets will fade as it gets into the early hours of the morning when there's nobody about.
Are you talking about putting it on in the pavement? Like the paving slabs are going to be glowing?
Yeah, well, there's actually a park in Cambridge, I believe, that's done this.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not sure how.
So you can walk around and see glow-in-the-dark paving slabs?
Yeah. Well, I think they've mixed in the glow-in-the-dark stuff into some kind of concrete or perhaps just a paint that they painted the paths with. I have a feeling it might be an art project.
Oh, right, okay.
So, but very interesting idea and perfectly logical. And I think that's something that will definitely happen in the future.
Absolutely. Can we talk about the story idea that you've posted, the Trespasses, which I was having a read of? It's quite a short one, really, and it was you said it was sent to you by Andrew Carling, and so it's where it starts off saying, a little in our future, the Mir space station is asked to set a camera towards Jupiter, and they see that Jupiter is started to be mined by these aliens. So no contact's been made, just these aliens are coming in, we don't know anything about them, and then they started to mine Jupiter.
Yeah, it's an interesting scenario, isn't it?
Don't know how you mine Jupiter, so it's made out of gas. But I suppose that they're probably sucking all the atmosphere to put in their shell world. That's probably what they're doing.
Ah, yeah. I think he's talking about the moons, actually, mining the moons, but you can't mine
the moons? Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
So then it says about us, Earth, being the aggressors, and then sort of trying to chase them out of the solar system. And then, as far as the story idea, it's as simple as that. So I suppose it's just a starting point. But I'd never really thought of that before. Usually, if in stories where there's aliens invading, they're usually invading. But really, they're not invading in this story. They're just kind of minding their own business, doing some mining of some planets that we're not that interested in.
Well, that we're interested in, but we can't get to.
Well, yeah.
Are they ours? Do we own them?
Well, that's the interesting thing that I took from this. What if someone started like mining the moon? We
yes,
barely,
that would definitely be
we can barely
too
get
close
there,
for
but
comfort.
Yeah,
that's our back garden, isn't it?
Well, that's right. Yeah, but if they didn't say a word to us at all, they just started doing it, we'd obviously assume that they're hostile. But they might be like, oh no, this planet's just here, so we're just going to mine it.
Yeah, I wonder how we would react. Would we try and be friends with them? And it could be to our advantage. We can't access these resources. In fact, this is something he talks about later on. It's not a very long article of mine, but it does say somewhere that these aliens could provide energy for the entire Earth.
Yeah.
But so that would rely on us being friendly towards them instead of trying to kick them out of our backyard.
Yeah, that's
Get off my land.
Well, we don't want to do the the typical Hollywood film thing where, oh god, there's aliens, let's go and attack them right now. We'd have to get into negotiations and then maybe do a deal. But do we have the rights to do a deal? Do we have a claim over our solar system? Or would they go, no, you've got no way to defend it. We're just going to take it. We're going to take these resources.
Yeah, interesting. This ties in with some previous articles as well, doesn't it? The story by Dan Palakios where we sell Venus.
I was thinking about that
to some aliens. Yeah. Is it ours to sell?
That's right. Yeah. And also, what if we were living in a solar system where there's 2 habitable planets? Maybe we're sharing the solar system with someone else who's, and there's a 3rd planet. Who owns that? Does it belong to one of the other 2 colonies, or can anyone just come and take it? Could we move into a solar system where there's one habitable planet? If there's a solar system where one planet has been the home for aliens for hundreds of thousands of years or whatever, could we just move into a planet next door and just go,
well,
hello,
that's actually quite an old trope, isn't it? Where there's primitive aliens and we move in. I mean, Avatar, for instance.
Like Avatar, yeah.
But you don't usually see it being turned around on us.
Yeah.
It also ties in a little bit with the story idea, Zugger and Gazole versus Evil, was it? Where I'm talking about the horror movie Tucker and Dale versus Evil. And they're playing aliens instead of rednecks.
Yeah.
With aliens, there's usually this kind of assumption of hostile intent.
Yeah.
We see an alien, we think, oh, that's scary, therefore it's trying to kill us. So we must try and kill it.
So this story by, this story idea by Andrew Carling, you could tell that from the point of view of the Trespasses, of the people who are mining Jupiter, and then we are the bad guys. The humans are the bad guys.
Yes.
So that'd be quite interesting.
This is an idea I actually had. I thought about writing this actually, where just a short story of these miners, say just take 2 ordinary alien miners, workers, and humans are just attacking them for no reason. They've been unable to communicate, and Earth is just sending all these puny ships at them to no avail. It's not making a scratch. And the story about them just kind of scratching their heads and going, why are they doing this? It's silly. And that maybe a human manages to board the mining station, and how would they react to him? How would they treat him? Maybe try and be nice to him, but this human would be so terrified of the aliens that he desperately tries to kill them.
You know what that last thing there that you just mentioned reminds me of? And this is completely out there reference, but do you remember, the Clangers? They're these little cute mice people that live on the moon. There was one episode where a spaceman landed on the moon and he was so terrified of them, and they were just like going, "Do you want some soup? Do you want some soup?" but the spaceman was just running, just terrified because these aliens were chasing him. It was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant.
It was. There was also a spaghetti tree in that episode, if I remember rightly.
Was there? Well, they're just so like little cutesy mice alien things.
Little
that go,
knitted mice, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah. If anyone listening to this podcast has not seen the Clangers, you should. Yeah, try.
You
and
will
find them.
soon because it's being remade.
No, really?
Yeah,
Are they doing it? They're not doing it CGI, are they?
probably.
Oh no! It looks better
I
when it's like
know.
these stupid knitted mice things.
Things are so much cuter with stop motion animation, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I suppose that's alright. It's kind of inevitable, isn't it? There's only
It
so
is,
many
yeah.
ideas with kids' TV things, and they just keep doing it over and over and over. Well, kids grow up, and it does, and so there's a new audience of kids who've not seen it. So it's quite good to
Yeah.
keep traditions like that alive.
But here we go again with that old trope of there are only so many ideas, therefore we have to keep recycling them. There's no such thing as an original idea.
Yeah, but
doesn't
no,
the
I don't
Clangers
believe that.
disprove that? The Clangers is like the most original piece of science fiction ever made. And does it just prove that there are so many original ideas out there?
I never thought about that before, but yeah, the Clangers is science fiction.
It is, yeah.
Of course it is, but it's just I don't really think of them as being anything other than a kids' TV show, which is usually just it is what
Nonsense, yeah.
it is. Nonsense, yeah.
Which the Clangers is. Let's be honest.
Clangers is brilliant.
But yeah, I
So
wonder if, just before the Clangers was made, there were TV executives saying, there's no such thing as an original idea anymore. Everything's been done. You know, we've done Andy Pandy. We've done Bill and Ben the Flower Pot Men. That's the absolute limit. There's nothing
Americans won't
original to
understand
do.
what any of those things are.
No. Then somebody comes along with the Clangers.
It's these mice things that live on the moon. They eat soup, and there's a dragon that excretes soup. I don't even know. The soup dragon.
The soup dragon.
What
How
does
does
it
he make
do?
the
Does it just excrete it out of a gland? And so they get spaghetti from a tree, which also lives on the moon.
Yes, yeah.
And they live in holes in craters.
Covered by dustbin lids.
Dustbin lids.
I want to know
of
where they
course.
get the dustbin lids from.
Oh yeah. Oh no, they've got loads of rubbish on the moon. It's like old satellites and things.
But it's not the moon.
Is it not?
No.
Oh, is it?
It's like an asteroid in a huge asteroid field that they actually visit other asteroids, don't they?
Do they?
Yeah, I'm sure that, yes.
Is it like the?
I'm sure I've seen them
Kerbal
go to
Space
another
Program?
asteroid where there's a music tree.
Oh, I do remember that. Yeah, it's a music tree.
It grows notes that somehow make a sound in a vacuum.
But they have got an atmosphere.
They must
Otherwise,
have. They must
how
have.
would they exist? Anyway, let's
They're
not.
made of wool.
They're made of wool. Let's not pick apart the idea that everything in the
Science
Clangers.
doesn't apply in a world made entirely of wool. If you're American and you've never seen Clangers, watch it. Get on YouTube, seriously.
It must be on YouTube. The episodes are only a couple of minutes long. It's just
Yeah.
just a short kids TV thing, but it's just insanely creative, isn't it?
Yeah. So yeah, also check out this article, story idea, The Trespasses, on scifiideas.com.
I've done you a little quiz.
Okay.
Well, it's not a quiz. I've just called it, Is This Sci-Fi?
Oh,
I'm going
God,
to read you.
here we
I'm going
go.
to read
Here
you.
we go.
I'm going to read you out some things, and you've got to tell me, is it science fiction or not?
Science fiction is what you point to when you say it, but because this is audio, I can't really do any pointing.
Right. Town Called Eureka. Is that science fiction?
Yes.
Definitely is.
Yes. I
What-
know it's a little wacky and out there, but it really does try to justify everything scientifically. I think it's hard science fiction, because everything revolves around a scientific concept or idea.
Good. I agree with that. But what about Warehouse 13?
No, that's definitely not science fiction.
But they're in the same world. They have crossovers.
Yeah, and I have a big issue with that. I think Eureka should have crossed over with Stargate. That would have been fun.
That would have made more sense as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the world of Warehouse 13 is a world of magic. I think, anyway. Because they don't justify anything with science. They do just say, goo does this. And
this is an artifact that does this, and they don't say why. Okay.
yeah,
right.
and I think that's fantasy.
Iron Man. Is Iron Man science fiction?
Yeah, I'm one of these people that usually says superhero fiction is fantasy rather than science fiction. Or maybe it's a genre on its own. I think Iron Man you could put into science fiction. It's just inside that border, I think.
Yeah. Remember, though, it's in the Marvel Universe, and sometimes other things in the Marvel Universe might not make scientific sense.
Yeah. It's in the same universe as Thor.
Well, that's it. Is Thor science fiction?
But they've made Thor an alien, so...
Yeah, they tried to explain it
fine.
by demonstrating like a tree which shows the crossovers of universes and dimensions and things.
Yeah. I think this is one of these things that we don't understand it, but...
Yeah, is it like the technology is so advanced that it looks like magic to us?
Yeah. Yeah.
CSI.
I've never seen CSI.
But they when they're investigating stuff, and then they show all these
the flashy computer screens.
The flashy computer screens, and they have that tabletop things where they're swishing things around and they project stuff, and it all just looks very science fiction. And then they can do things like their data systems can work stuff out very, very quickly. They'll do like some cross analysis, and
I would say that that's probably not science fiction. That's just being flashy because it's cool.
Right.
But if this is about forensic science, that's a science. You could classify it as hard science fiction. If the core of the show is a science, forensic science. But it's one of these things that science fiction is what you point to when you say it. And I don't point to that and say that's science fiction. And I don't think many people would.
How about the Hunger Games? Is that science fiction?
Ah, now this is an interesting one, isn't it?
I've not seen the film. I'm hoping that you have.
I saw the film and it was utterly boring.
Oh, but a lot of people like it.
Yeah.
And there's a second.
I can only imagine the books are very good with the world building.
Well, that's it. I've listened to someone talk about the world and everything in it, and that does sound very, very interesting. What they did with that. Okay, so maybe we shouldn't judge it by the film. And
no,
films are. That's it. Films are always everyone who reads a book.
And it was only the
first
first one, so it was a very simple story, and hopefully it will get a lot more interesting as the series goes on. It's very popular with kids, though, who probably...
More like teenagers, isn't it?
Yeah, who might not have seen the other films and shows that we have. So to them, the idea of people being forced to fight to the death, oh, wow. Whereas to us, that's like every other episode of the original series of Star Trek.
But to them, it's a new concept, okay.
Yeah. So is it science fiction? It's definitely speculative fiction, but there's not so much science.
Does that mean then, just thinking about what you said there, does that mean there has to be a certain order that you say things, that you watch things in? Thinking about science fiction films. You said there that people who haven't seen as much science fiction as we have probably would get more out of the Hunger Games than we would. Have we
they might
sort
find
of
the
spoiled
concept...
ourselves by watching too much?
I wouldn't say that. I'd just say you'll enjoy the concept more if you're not already familiar with it.
Yeah. I thought about this as well when I saw the film Moon.
Okay.
There are a few films that I've seen, and the entire concept of the film is exactly the same as a Star Trek episode. And I don't want to ruin Moon for you, but once you've seen it and you get the concept and stuff, you'll think, Star Trek did that. So I wonder if Star Trek has ruined a lot of films for us.
But does it just mean that Star Trek fans are privileged in seeing these stories first?
Oh, yeah.
But then Star Trek takes ideas from elsewhere as well.
Yeah, of course. So, you posted for the Halloween special the story of the late Mr. Elvisham by H.G. Wells.
H.G. Wells, yes. Did you read it?
I've read it, yeah. You know what? What I'm going to say about it relates to what we've just been talking about.
Okay.
Because it's a fairly simple science fiction story, but written in a way that, well, you can tell it's been written as if this is a brand new concept, because it takes time to explain all these things, and does so in quite a meticulous but a very good way. You could sum it up in a sentence. You could sum it up in a word.
Yeah.
Well, you could sum it up in 2 words, Freaky Friday.
Yeah. But this is it. It's a very common trope now. That was started. It's the very first use of this idea.
Yeah, yeah. So it's the story of this man a young man who meets an old man who
wants to leave
kind
his
of
fortune
suspicious.
to him.
That's it. He wants to leave it, and it sounds too good to be true, doesn't it?
Yeah.
He wants to leave his fortune, and all the young man's got to do is take his name. And so he does, but he's given this sort of potion, I suppose. And then as he's walking home, he can remember things that didn't happen in his life. And then he got to bed, and his mind's sort of swimming in all these things. He doesn't really know what's going on. And then he wakes up, and he's in a different room. And he looks at his mirror, and he is now the old man.
It's the old switcheroo.
The old switcheroo, exactly. It's happened so many times in stories, but what I liked about this when I read it is that it was written, it was written so well.
Yeah. It's a very creepy story as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It makes a brilliant Halloween story.
Is it science fiction?
Or is it fantasy?
Yeah.
It could easily be either, couldn't it?
Nothing's scientifically explained.
No. It probably is more fantasy, actually. But I think of it as science fiction because it's H.G. Wells, and because I've seen this story done in science fiction so many times.
Well, that's it, yeah. We've seen so many episodes of Stargate or Star Trek or films where this happens quite a lot.
Yeah.
And then not even science fiction films, though. Like I mentioned, Freaky Friday.
Yeah. I actually watched a film a couple of weeks ago that was doing this. Pretty much exact story, but with some voodoo people.
Right.
Some witch doctors doing it.
Oh, the voodoo people.
It was rubbish. And again, it's one of these things where I was looking on Rotten Tomatoes for reviews, and some people saying, oh, it's such an original idea. Then others saying, it's completely not. And obviously it's not. It's a story that is 100 years old. Wow,
yeah. So what's next month's feature story going to be?
I don't know yet. We need some submissions. So if anyone's got a short story under 10,000 words that they'd like to see on the Sci-Fi Ideas webpage, email me to mark@scifiideas.com.
And then we'll talk about it.
And we'll talk about it here, yeah.
And rip it to pieces. No, we won't. We'll be very polite about it. Can we ask people to email in what they think of the music? Because I didn't like it at first, and now it's growing on me. But I don't know if it's just Stockholm Syndrome.
Because I'm forcing it on you. The intro-outro music, this is fine. I know it's not typical sci-fi music, but...
Well, I thought that the music you're going to have is like sort of like Star Trek-y, or like synthesizers, or something kind of maybe orchestral, just like...
Well, it's difficult
like
to find
2001, something like that.
That works for a podcast that you can play for a couple of seconds that's catchy. I think this is catchy. It's not typical sci-fi, but that's the idea. This is Sci-Fi Ideas, but we're meant to be thinking out of the box. And it sounds like the Cantina music from Star Wars too.
I think people should email us or put a message on our Facebook page.
Yeah, let us know what you think of it.
Like it or hate it. Just say, I hate the music, or I love the music.
Yeah.
If you're on the fence... Don't
post. We don't want hundreds of comments saying, don't care. Get back to talking about sci-fi ideas. Right,
let's say goodbye.
Yeah, let's say goodbye then.
Okay.
Bye. So lame.
A Zulu man is feeling blue. Hair has heartbeat, a little tattoo.
You have been listening to the Sci-Fi Ideas podcast. Visit sci-fiideas.com to find out what the frack these two idiots are talking about.
Well, I'm so very